This is the Black Shift Group podcast. Our mission is to create space to elevate, enrich, and expose individuals of color to ideals and concepts that they may not have been privy to. This is your girl, Young Ree.
And I'm your granddad, and that's all relations. This podcast is just real conversations with real people.
We're going to be discussing lifestyle topics such as overall health and fitness, finances, culture, decode some media, and so much more.
After all, no one really knows what they're doing, so let's just swing it together.
All right, so let's get into it, y'all.
Just want to let y'all know that we straight out the gutter with this one. How you doing today, Young Ree?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm marvelous. I could be doing better, but I'm good.
Bet it up. So I guess today we want to go ahead and introduce ourselves to y'all. In my opinion, I feel that we're going to now be your new best friends.
I know that's right.
All right. So I guess we want to go ahead and get into our upbringing, how we met each other, and why we got started with the Black Shift Group.
Hey, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You know what? I'll go ahead and kick it off. So, as y'all know, this is your girl, Young Ree. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, clap it up.
I want to go ahead and just bring up some of my upbringing, some of the things that I went through, and how I made it to who I am today. I grew up in a single-parent household, saw my mom do her thing, push through, as she raised us to the best of her abilities. Later on in my adult life, I stepped out from up under my mother's wings a little bit too early. A series of events took place, and I was diagnosed with major depression.
We're going to get into that later. I just want to let y'all know that. Because we're going to be transparent.
Absolutely. Now, what I do want to go ahead and mention is that, I'm not one to submit. So I, of course, did not submit to Western medicine and the methods that they told me to go ahead and go through with. I kind of did my own thing. I want to further elaborate on that, but I just want y'all to understand that I didn't accept it as my depression, and I kind of nicknamed it Dark Days. And, just recognize that it's today and it's not every day. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay anyone that is diagnosed with major depression and that may take prescribed drugs for it, because by all means, do what's best for you, because you got to get this money out here. But at the same time,
right.
But at the same time, you have to know yourself and understand that at the end of the day, you have the power to be and process and become who you want to be.
Wow, that was an amazing way to start off the podcast. Notice earlier I said that we straight out the gutter. That's because none of this is rehearsed. We didn't have anything written. It's just a few notes.
Hey.
But to introduce myself, I go by the Granddad. I know a lot of people may wonder, why do you call yourself the Granddad? It's because I go to sleep early, and when I give information or try to drop knowledge, I kind of drop it in a granddad's fashion. Mm-hmm. To talk a little bit about myself, I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I was raised in Louisiana. My mom and my dad, they were together through my childhood and through my younger adulthood. I have two siblings. There's three of us. I'm the second oldest, and our relationship was like any other sibling. We argue, but at the end of the day, you're my sibling and I'm gonna look out for you. I realized at a young age I didn't really see life how everybody else saw life. When I look back at some of my photos, I could see it. One of my screensavers is actually a picture of me, but of me, and I could just see it on my face. Like I just wasn't feeling what was going on during the time. And as I got older, I still didn't quite feel what was going on. I felt like at a pivotal time in my life, I needed my grandfather, and he passed away, and it kind of brought me into a serious depression, to the point where, Young Ree said they want to prescribe you stuff, but I felt like that kind of messes up your mindset a little bit. It kind of alters your perception. And like she said, it's not to say that the way, if any of you guys are actually taking prescribed medicine, that's wrong, but I just feel like certain things you just got to get through by yourself. I felt like if I probably was prescribed something, I probably may have not been myself or been in my right mind. So I definitely can sympathize with that. Yeah, that's pretty much me.
Right. And I mean, I do agree with what you're saying when it comes to, not necessarily wanting to take the prescribed medicine, because I will say that, I did when I was initially diagnosed, I did go ahead and take the medicine, and I felt off, being completely honest. I wasn't my goofy, loud, giggly, innovative, creative self. All I wanted to do was just lay there and just get up, go to work, because I know that's what, society tells us that we have to do. But as far as my drive to figure out why I'm here, who I am, and what this journey is going to bring to me, I wasn't interested in any of that.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. So when you knew that you were in your normal self, did you decide to kick the prescriptions that they were trying to give to you, or?
Well, yeah, and my mom used to say a hard head gonna cause a soft ass, and I can say for sure that is young Ree. But yes, I was prescribed. I was taking them, and then what actually took place was that I was laid off from my job because I didn't have the umph to get up and go. And of course, you lose your job, you lose your insurance. With me not having insurance, of course, I can't get the meds. I did try alternative methods, smoke a little weed like everybody do.
Hey.
But I also saw that was a crutch that I was depending on. So basically I took up, but it was a long period where I had no idea whether I was going up or down. True. I didn't know if I was making any progress or if I was going backwards. So it was, just me applying myself, finding new methods. I went the church route. I went the meditation route. I went the mantra and affirmation route. Started going outside, going to parks and grounding myself, put my feet in the grass, eating a little better. I found a better job, and I kind of used that to restructure my life again, as far as, using that as a set schedule that I know regardless of whatever, I can go to this job and I'm here for so many hours and just push through. I was always telling myself, Ree, you can do it. Now, with me saying that, I'm not going to sit up here and tell y'all that today, I'm just happy-go-lucky, I never have a bad day. Absolutely, I still have those dark days. But at the same time, I remind myself once again that that's one day and this is not every day.
Dropping game.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Nah, she just really gave the game. Like, you can take what she just said and apply it to yourself, especially with the going out. I realized with my depression that staying home is the worst thing you could do. Do not stay in bed. That is the worst. Definitely go out if you got friends, talk about it. I realized with especially the Black community, we don't like to talk about our feelings too much or talk about what's really going on. We kind of shelter yourself, especially Black men. And I'm speaking on myself in particular. I got a heart. I'm very prideful, and I feel like if I make myself too vulnerable, someone will take advantage of that. Maybe we get into an argument and you might use that against me. I've had that happen before, and I figured that's what most people go through. That's why they don't talk about their depression. To basically piggyback off of what Ree said, I didn't really smoke weed, but I used to sip cough syrup, promethazine with codeine. That's what all the rappers talk about these days. But when I was doing it, it was during a time where people were very afraid of it. And I would drink it in the form of a beverage and sleep. I realized that it was definitely, like Ree said, it was a crutch. I felt good for the moment, but sleeping days away.
Right.
So that's why now I'm kind of like, I don't take naps. Even though I am the granddad and I should take, naps go along with being a granddad, but I try not to take naps.
Right, because it can almost put you in like a reminiscent mindset to make you feel like, I feel like I'm sinking back into it. Like I know me, like on the weekends, working 9 to 5s, which I do still have one, but don't get me wrong, I'm trying to get out of it. But anyway,
right.
On the weekends when I find myself sleeping in too long or standing in bed too much or, not hitting the gym, and when I just see myself doing those old traits that I had, I try to, switch it up, change it up. Give yourself like a 3-day period. If you wake up one morning and you feel like shit, it's a shitty day. And that's just what it's going to be.
Hey, that's the real way to look at it.
And then I would say by day 2, you want to go ahead and start cleaning up your shit, flush the toilet or whatever method that you use. That means start looking into affirmations, start looking on YouTube and motivational. I know one channel that I absolutely love is Black Magic 363. They got some awesome videos on there just on your overall being and knowledge of self. And I would say by day 3, you want to, we'll say 3 and 4 days. So by day 3, you want to start moving, start trying to get back into your old self. So you want to definitely be doing those affirmations. You want to definitely be moving your body, and you want to make sure you're definitely consuming the correct foods, because we are literally what we eat. And I would say by day 4, you should pretty much have a grip and have a full understanding of, okay, what triggered me to feel like that, and these were the steps that I took to get where I am right now. And then you just want to keep pushing from that point. Now that's me, and that's like how I compacted my timeline and what I allow myself, because sometimes we have to actually parent ourselves. Granted, we like to say, oh, we grown, you know what I'm saying, we out here on our own.
True.
But sometimes you have to be that mom or you have to be that dad to yourself and be like, no, you need to get your butt up and you need to get out of the house and go get this money, man. You know what I'm saying?
And that's kind of dope that she said be your own mother and be your own father, because for myself, when you go through stuff like this, you can't expect anybody else, especially your parents, to understand what you're going through. Like, they may try to get you in position to get help, but like as far as like talking to them, it may not always be the most beneficial thing to do, because I don't think that they will understand. Like, we just use it like that. It is kind of on you to do it. And my advice is just to take it one day at a time. I know with myself, I like to try to look too far in the future, and that's not really a good thing. Like, take it one day at a time. Like Ree said, get your shit together one day at a time, pretty much.
Yeah. Definitely. And I wouldn't say that, I mean, we can say that they don't understand, but what we have to know and understand as people of color is that we tend to have generational curses, because no one is actually actively working to level up from the generation before them. So you may not even know your favorite aunt, your mom, your grandma, great grandma, they may have also dealt with depression, but back then it was called something else, you know what I'm saying? Or they were just handling it in different ways. Like, one thing I know, that my whole family, they're very heavy in church, you know what I'm saying? And they rely on Jesus Christ. Me, I'm moving in a different direction, not saying that one is better than the other, but you ultimately have to find what works for you. And once you understand that, you're going to be perfectly fine. Once you understand that you are the mastermind, you are the creator, you are the developer, it's all you, honey.
Pass the collection plate around.
Do you hear me?
And this pretty much what you hearing right now is just what the podcast is just like, we don't want to make ourselves seem like we're too godlike, because we went through the same things that normal people went through or going through, because we're still going through it ourselves. Like I recently just came out of a darker day. Right now I'm good. I'm level-headed, but we just want to make sure that we are relatable. Like, you can relate to us, you can talk to us, you can listen to us. It may be somebody out there that need to listen to this, and it'll help them through their dark day.
Yeah, and shoot, just like y'all listening to us and y'all talking to us, like, we want to hear from y'all too, but we'll get into all of that later. But I do want to just, let's move along, because I feel like we're going to dive more into this, throughout the season of this particular podcast. What I want to go ahead and bring up is how me and him met. Honestly, I'm not completely sure, but I just know the first time we were actually face to face with each other, we went for a walk on the beach late at night, and it was amazing just because of the fact that if you've never been to the beach late at night with no lights, you need to get your life straight up, because these stars you feel like you can reach up and literally grab it. The sun is like on 10. So how you gonna let me say the sun? I mean, the moon is absolutely on 10.
Straight out the gutter. Just want to let you know that. We said that in the beginning. We definitely out together. Like, if you hear these mistakes, it's just, we real. Yeah, straight real. Yeah, the first time that me and Ree met, like, we used to correspond with each other on social media. She used to post certain things, and I used to, of course, agree with what she would be saying. And then we just decided to meet up at the beach, and it was genuine. It was, the conversation flowed. I think we were only supposed to be out there for a little bit, and we wound up staying out there for hours, like just talking about where we were at. I remember for a fact, at that point in stage of my life, I was in an okay, complacent level. Like, I was good. I was content. I had a solid job. I was in the gym a lot. I was personal training a little bit here and there. And I was good for my take, and I'll let Ree definitely tell you more about it. She was kind of in a more unsure area. It kind of was like yin and yang. I was definitely that shoulder for her. I just spoke positives into her life. Again, like yin and yang. So I have my darker times, and Ree have her good times, and she kind of pulls me out of my rut. So that's where it kind of was with me and her as far as our paths crossing. It was just like, you know, it was meant to happen.
Oh yeah, being completely honest, when we met at the beach that time, I was definitely on a very teeter-totter time period. That's when when I prior mentioned that I didn't know if I was going up or down. That's where I was. And I was really actually seeking, like I was looking, I was hoping that some beacon of light would just come out of the sky and be like, here's the answer, and not saying that Grandpapa is that beacon of light, but along this journey you're gonna meet people that are gonna expose you to things and sometimes tell you about yourself that you weren't able to expose yourself to or tell yourself. So I was definitely in need of a friend, a genuine friend that I felt like I could talk to about anything. And definitely, me being a woman, it's hard for us to get male genuine friends because there's always this underlying, oh, I'm gonna get you. You know what I'm saying?
And that's real. That's actually real. And that's unfortunate, especially for women. You can't really confine in a man without them maybe having an alternative motive behind it. But
right.
Basically, just still, like, Ree was always my friend through all this time. And this was probably back in, 2013-ish?
Yeah.
Around that time? Yeah. And during this time, I was trying to figure it out, but I would always check on Ree, and Ree would always check on me. And the code would be, is it happy Ree or is it sad Ree? Yes. tell me it's happy Ree now. Like, tell me happy Ree is here. And she'd be like, yeah, it's happy Ree. And then if something was bad, she'd be like, yeah, sad Ree's starting to come back out.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, as humans, we have those moments where we're kind of up. We're up and then we're down. And it's always good just to have somebody to talk to when you're in those down times.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely when the space is set where there's no type of judgment. And when that person has knowledge of themselves to where they understand that, hey, everybody going through this thing. You know what I'm saying? None of us really know. Nobody got a handbook when they signed up to come down here. You know what I'm saying? So you're really out here winging it. So I guess, we didn't kind of elaborate on how we met. We can get into, why we actually started the Black Shift group, where we want this journey to go, and just see where it's going to take us. I would say that I just wanted to genuinely tell my story with no type of filter, no matter if anybody judged me or not. I just wanted to be able to tell my story before I left this space. And I also felt like, I listened to a lot of different podcasts and I'm on social media a lot, on YouTube, and I felt like there was no middle ground. You either quote unquote woke. Y'all know what that is.
Woke, it's a trend. Look it up. It's a definition. It's trendy.
Or what I like to say is that you have knowledge yourself, or you're asleep, or you're a sheep in these streets. You're either doing yoga or you twerking. You're either vegan or you're a meat eater. There was no
bars. Hey, that's an album right there.
Hey. But there was no middle ground. I felt like I didn't fit into anywhere. I felt like I was too awkward to sit with the cool kids, but I felt like I was too cool to go sit with the nerdy kids. So I felt like, I'm gonna create my own space and I'm gonna find my own tribe.
So go ahead and tell us about what made you shift enlightenment. Well, what made you go on your journey?
I will say that my journey was provoked during that time period of me not knowing up from down. The internet, I will genuinely say that if we didn't have the internet, I may still be going back and forth between happy and sad. What started off was I used to listen to Creflo Dollar. Y'all know who he is.
Go look him up if you don't.
Right. So I used to listen to him, and there was actually a day where I was praying and I felt as if I'm not going to say praying because I still pray now, but pray for me means different than what it meant then. Back then I was begging, and I was begging a higher power that I wasn't fully connected with to come help me and save me from this current situation. And I felt as if that entity never showed up. So from that point, I got on Google and I started looking up other motivational speeches, and then clicking on one video caused me to click on another video, which led me here, which led me there. And honestly, I can't even pinpoint exactly, what I watch or exactly what I, may have heard, but I will say the internet definitely opened up so much for me.
Just to piggyback off what she just said, I want y'all to understand understand that when she says that she was praying and she was wanting that entity, it's kind of like begging. You understand that when people go through things, they may not always have the same religious beliefs as you. So I want to just let everybody know that we're really open about the whole religion thing and who do you believe in. What Ree's path was maybe because of her reasons. So
Correct.
You can't listen to this and be like, oh, you were begging instead of talking or something like that. You understand she went through what she went through and it caused her to go that way. All right. So I just wanted to let y'all know that, because I understand we live in a time where you're judged off of how you perceive religion. And
Correct.
we don't want to do that here.
Right. And I absolutely mean no disrespect whatsoever. And y'all gonna always hear me stress that ultimately the decision is up to you. If you like it, I love it, because I'm not one to give you the manual that none of us even got when we came here.
Right.
So, well, I guess that's kind of what got me into like knowledge of self, looking for alternative methods to overcome depression. That was my main thing. Like, I just don't want to wake up sad. I don't want to wake up always asking why. So I looked for alternative methods. I got into meditation. I kind of did yoga. I'm not even finna sit up here in front and be like, I'm a yogi in these streets, because I'm not. But every once in a while I do get down and, stretch it out. Got into crystals. At that time, I was still eating like heavily processed food. I used to love fish and grits, but not like real fish, but like, the Gordon's yellow pack fish and like the packet grits.
Straight gutter.
But I am glad to say that now I am more of a plant-based eater, but I do eat basically what feels good to me. So if one morning I wake up and my body say, hey, let's do some egg whites, that's what we're going to do. If I wake up one day and be like, we're going to do the whole salad thing and straight raw food, that's what I'm going to do. I feel like you don't have to fully subscribe to one thing and be like, this is what it is and I'm not going to do anything else. We're living. Like, do what you want to do and do it to the best of your ability.
I love that. I really love how she put that. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about my enlightenment switch. One of the most influential people in my life was my granddad and my great-granddad. Now, great-granddad has been a pastor for 70 plus years. He lived until he was 100. And he used to give me a game about how it was for young blacks coming up in the South. And my granddad, who is the most influential person in my life besides my mom, but if I had to put it to, let's say, overall influence, it probably may be him, even though my mom is my mom. Of course, she's going to have that influence regardless. But he was a scientist and he was a black activist. In some of his later years, he was opening cold cases for black people murdered by the Klansmen. He always told me to never take things for what they are and actually do your own research. And that's kind of the piggyback off of the religion thing. People want you to conform to the religion, like just believe this because this is what you're supposed to believe in. But my granddad was kind of like, never do that. Be somebody who's about show me. And if you can't show me something, I can't fully believe in it. And that's not me saying that I don't believe in this or that. Like, I just want to know why I should. Like, if you want me to believe in what you believe in, you need to show me. My enlightenment switch came around about 2014. My great-granddad had just passed away. He was 100, and my granddad, he was in the hospital battling cancer. And one of the last things that stick with me from him, and probably is the last thing he said to me, was do what you know is right. And I feel like a lot of stuff that goes on isn't right. I'm kind of on the edge still because I'm still going through life. I'm a nomad. That's why I like to call myself of spectrums. I'm just going through life to see what each spectrum is about. I was a vegetarian at one point in time in my life. I advise people to try it at least once. I speak to people about religion, unbiasedness. As time went on, I just became woke, quote unquote. Woke. And the thing is,
such a funny word.
Yeah, it is funny. And I feel like I said earlier, it's a trend. I think it's a trend because back in like 2014, 2013, when I was going through my depression from me knowing things, it was no such thing as being woke. It was just, it is what it is. But now it's a term for it. I said this yesterday to somebody. I said, I don't believe in woke. I believe Albert Einstein was woke, and y'all thought he was was insane.
Right.
That's my take on woke. Like I said, around about 2013, 2014, I became aware, or I started going my enlightenment, and that's what kind of made me do it. My granddad definitely was a big part of that.
Right. Now, I heard you mention that, you know, once you became woke, we're going to go ahead and say aware. So once you became aware, you said you did feel like you went through a little bit of anger, you felt a little bit down. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I will say with me, once I became aware, and when we're saying aware, that means we went back, we learned our past so we can understand our present, so that we can know where we're going in the future. And that can definitely cause someone to become angry when you're definitely a person of color, because you see how the pedestals and how the cards have been laid out in the past. So, you know, just segueing into that before I let you answer, I'm sorry about that.
It's all good.
To segue, I would say that that's definitely why the Black Shift group, period, not just the podcast, but all the way across the board. That is why this is started, because we want to definitely start exposing people, starting to let people understand that you don't have to be a certain way, because we need a shift. We need a complete paradigm shift if we want to remove some of these generational curses that have been placed on us that we continue to live out.
Definitely agree. Anger, definitely, because we don't really have too many people out here that honestly can hold deep conversations with, you know, quote unquote woke people aside, and you actually, but if we was to get into one of those conversations, they kind of just look at you with like empty eyes. Right. So it's angry. I'm angry because of that, but I can't tell you to not, because maybe you being quote unquote woke will actually lead you into the enlightenment, the full-fledged enlightenment. And angry, yeah, definitely, because I be wanting to talk about stuff and people think I'm weird or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you get on my Facebook statuses and say stuff like, "Oh yeah, I can't stand you woke people." Like, what do you mean? Like I'm giving you the game and you don't really want it. So it is what it is.
Right, because what we have to understand is that a person is only going to meet you as far as they have met themselves. So if they are extremely surface, they can't help but be surface with you. Now, if you deep diving like me, I was naturally deep diving. Shout out to them Pisces. Hey.
Lego.
We naturally want to feel everything. So I already, you know, had like a otherworldly quality about me that everybody called weird. But it's like now that I'm getting older, I'm just realizing that that's my superpower. Everybody has their own superpower. Everybody has their own gifts. And those gifts are not rapping, singing. It's not always those. Sometimes you may just really be psychic. You may really be an empath. Those are things that you want to actually look up, find out about yourself, which you can't find those out unless you genuinely look for knowledge of self, which only you can really give to yourself. Like you can't read a book and let that book tell you about yourself. Yeah, it can point you in a direction, but ultimately you have to open that door and you have to take those steps.
To piggyback off that, I kind of feel like people don't really know themselves, and social media is cool and all that, but it's a gift and a curse.
Oh yeah.
Like you could use it for your branding, but you also can get lost in trying to live like someone else.
Lost in the sauce.
Exactly. But yeah, you could definitely try to live someone else's life, and I realize nowadays there's no accountability. Like right. No one wants to take accountability because they don't know themselves. You're too busy living like someone else or thinking like someone else that when it's time for you to hold yourself accountable, you don't even know who you are when you look in the mirror. So.
Oh yeah, and that looking in the mirror thing, that should be a daily practice. If you don't like yourself right now, you need to go look in the mirror until you like yourself. And if the tears come, they just come. I can't take credit for that. I have to give credit to Jennifer Lewis. And y'all know who that is. That is the Black Hollywood mother. I recently read her book, and she revealed that she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Her going through the process of trying to live with it without being diagnosed, without being medicated. Awesome book. Y'all should definitely check it out. That was one quote that I took and really embraced, because sometimes I struggle looking at myself in the mirror to this day. And on those days, that's when I make myself go in that bathroom, stay in that mirror until I like what I see and I embrace who I am, because ultimately that's your key. That's your major key to be able to understand this journey and get through this life.
that's real, and I definitely feel that one. It's okay not to understand this myself. You have to cry sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like tears may come, and that's healthy. We humans. And again, I'm speaking from a male's perspective. Like, we don't tend to show that much emotion. And I had my mom tell me this the other day, like, it's okay. You may just need to cry. Yeah. Like, you may need to, mourn your granddad's passing, because I still kind of deal with that in a strange way. Mm-hmm. But it may be the healthy thing to do. And we tend to hold back all our emotions, and that's from a grand spectrum of Black people. And
Very
also
true.
Men do it too, because we have this perception that we have to be tough, because you're not supposed to show no emotions. That's bull crap to me. I think we should be more in touch with talking about our feelings more.
Oh, absolutely, because that's going to allow everyone as a unit to become stronger. That's going to allow that individual to become stronger. Because if you feel like you have to always walk around with a mask on, like, you're going to have a breaking point. At what point can I take off this makeup? At what point can I pull off this wig? At what point can I take this waist trainer off? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't want to constantly be putting yourself through pain just so you can feel like you're putting on this show for other people. We got to get out of that. And this is, the basis that we want to go ahead and set for this podcast. We want to open up the conversation. We want to set space. So, if there's anything that you guys want us to dive into more, if you like what you're hearing so far, go ahead and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and IG, the Black Shift Group, on all of those, and just give us some feedback and give us some topics that y'all want us to touch on.
One thing I realized about us is that we can talk. Like, we can definitely talk about a lot of stuff. So we're trying to stay on a schedule, I guess, to say. But I want to say that it's going to be a very interesting and fun ride, very informative. I'm just happy to see. I'm just happy for y'all to see what we got in store for y'all.
And I'm happy to be able to reach out and touch somebody's hand. I'm sorry.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm gonna bust out in song very often because I am a deep old soul, but I'm just happy to be able to share my story. Hopefully this touches someone, and we can hopefully bring y'all on one day and y'all go ahead and share y'all's story too. We hope you enjoyed the first episode, and we hope you come back and hang out with us some more.
We gotta.